Tempers did indeed flare at the Canton Police Audit Committee meeting last night, but this is the clip that people can't stop talking about.
Coming up at these meetings.
It made us a national laughingstock.
How?
Because then if I have to explain
To be fair, it wasn't a snowblower, it was a leaf blower, but continue.
that, then let's just move on.
No, please do. Because quite frankly, you could also be looked as ingenious to collect evidence that was ready to melt
In
away.
beer cups. The blood of a fallen police officer collected in beer cups.
How is that a problem? It
Because
was
they're not
collected.
sterile, because they don't have a top, because they were put in a used
Why
Stop
does
and
it have
Shop.
to be
I'm not,
sterile?
excuse me, sir, I'm still speaking.
Ms. Hel-
Why does it have to be sterile? Hello, and welcome to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people who understand that, yes, collecting the blood of a fallen police officer in solo cups is probably not the appropriate way to collect evidence when conducting an investigation, or at the very least, securing a crime scene. But hey, we're just people, right? People who have opinions about all things and all that, including what is this clown show?
It's Kathleen.
Ms. Holly, we'll just, the solo cup and the snowblower, what is it about that? It keeps coming up at these meetings.
It made us a national laughingstock.
How?
Because then if I have to explain that, then let's just move on.
No, please do. Because quite frankly, you could also be looked as ingenious to collect evidence that was ready to melt
In
away.
beer cups. The blood of a fallen police officer collected in beer cups.
How is that a problem? It
Because
was
they're not
collected.
sterile, because they don't have a top, because they were put in a used
Why
Stop
does it
and
have
Shop.
to be
I'm not,
sterile?
excuse me,
Why does it have to be sterile, sir? I don't know. Because it's evidence. Because you don't want to contaminate the evidence that you are collecting, so you can conduct the most thorough of investigations and make sure that nothing is contaminated and that you're able to swap the right DNA and test for X, Y, and Z and do all the police things that I am not trained in, but at the very least, I know the basics that yes, you don't collect evidence in solo cups. I mean, this isn't a fraternity. My God. I mean, I thought that was the worst of it, but it wasn't. And even though this is probably the clip that most people are talking about and can't stop talking about, the clip that infuriates me more than anything from this meeting last night was
In the background section of the RFP, recent events involving unfortunate and untimely deaths of residents spark concerns regarding how the department operates in its response to such events, but more generally, how the department operates every day in police matters. Are there any other deaths or incidents that have given rise to concern and need for engagement for the period contemplated within the scope of work? If yes, please clarify. And the answer we got is a federal investigation has been opened regarding the death of a second resident, Sandra Birchmore. So there's another death. His name is Craig Casey in 2018, which was found not too far off from a select board member's house, right off of Meadows Ave in Pleasant Street.
and that sent crazy alarm bells. And that's not the part that was, that is disturbing and a weird, ironic coincidence. But the part that's really disturbing to me, I'll play in a second. First, I wanted to stop here because I had no idea who Craig Casey was. And then I did some digging because that's what we do. We do some digging when we can do digging so we can be more well-informed about what the frick is going on in Canton. So police address response to a fatal crash on Pleasant Street. It's funny because I used to live on Pleasant Street. The driver of a fatal one-car crash on Pleasant Street that occurred in the early morning hours on Christmas Eve has been identified as Craig M. Casey, 30, of Staunton and formerly of Dedham. The exact name that they just mentioned in the meeting. The accident has received widespread media coverage in part because the body of the victim was not located during an initial search of the area by police, but rather by a passing motorist around 7 a.m., approximately 1 hour after police had cleared the scene. Addressing the incident in an email, because you know Helena Rafferty doesn't like to make public statements, right? She likes to hide behind her keyboard and just say things through these open-ended statements that literally have no substance to it whatsoever. She says that police had initially received a report of a driver side-sweeping a Canton resident in Staunton and fleeing at a high rate of speed. Short time later, a resident called to report an accident in the area of Meadows Ave and Pleasant Street. But Rafferty said when police arrived at the scene around 5:15 a.m., they found the vehicle unoccupied but having sustained heavy damage, because that's what happens when you get into a car crash, folks. There's usually damage to the car, especially if you hit people with a vehicle, but what do I know? I'm not an expert, right? 3 officers then searched the area on foot and in cruisers, believing the driver may have fled the scene. The vehicle was towed, and a DPW crew cut down a tree that had been damaged during the accident. After the scene had been cleared, Rafferty said police received a call from a motorist reporting that there was a person sleeping on a lawn of a home near the accident scene. Sleeping on a lawn of a home near the accident scene. So who lives near Meadows Ave and Pleasant Street and happens to be a Canton Select Board member? Oh, wait a minute. I'll let you guys take a minute to guess. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, time's up. It's your boy, Chris Albert. Chris Albert, D&E Pizza. Chris Albert, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Chris Chicken Parm Charlie Albert. Dagnabbit says, this was in 2018. Whoa, excuse me. The address in police reports, though, stated Craig Casey's body was found on Pleasant Street, but they neglect to mention that it was on the corner of Pleasant Street and Meadows Ave. And again, who also lived on Meadows Ave? John O'Keefe. Yep, right across the street from John O'Keefe's house and 2 doors up from Chris Albert's. Police and EMTs responded and found a deceased male with major trauma. At least one media report appearing in the Brockton Enterprise questioned whether police did enough to locate the victim during the initial response to the scene. The report cited 2 law enforcement experts, one who said police should have stayed on scene longer and expanded their search. I mean, again, I don't care how dark it is. How hard is it to see a man on sleeping on someone's lawn? Like it I'm sorry, but like it's probably not that hard. I don't care what weather conditions you're claiming there is. It doesn't even say it was snowing this day, right? So they can't even use that as the excuse. The big black blob, right? I mean, how hard is it to see some random person on your front lawn? Like, and at the very least, too, wouldn't it have woken up like the neighbors, right? And maybe they would have noticed, like, hey, there's some random dude on my front lawn. I'm seeing all these police sirens going around, but nobody said nothing, right? And then the other one, of course, said the protocol they followed seems right. It looks right. So just look the other way. It's fine. Oh, we just happen to miss the body. Like, I don't think you need to expand the search so much as just open your freaking eyes. Oh my gosh. According to Rafferty, none of the responding officers or anyone else at the scene, including several neighbors, the tow truck driver, or the DPW workers, saw the victim as he was wearing dark clothing, lying motionless, and it was pitch black out. I mean, excuse my language, what a piss poor excuse. Are you actually kidding me? He was wearing dark clothes and it was dark out. The 30-year-old man in a nearby yard, the man later spotted by a passing driver, was later identified as Craig Casey of Dedham. He was wearing dark clothing. It was still dark outside when the crash site was cleared around 6 a.m. An hour later, police were called again. I mean, it's like, don't you also have flashlights? Like, no. Like, no, I'm not buying it. Sorry, not buying it. Police found Casey's body, which suffered major trauma, whatever the F that means. I'd be curious to see, do they even have that? Please. If anybody has access to like that police report, I'd be super curious. Just at a quick search, I can't find it, but if it's out there, would love to know. Love to read it. Peggy Krippendorf, a spokeswoman for the Norfolk County DA's office, told the Brockton Enterprise the accident was a single vehicle crash. She said there was no criminal charges, but also, was there an investigation? Was there an investigation? And it's like, even if like he did, it was exactly what it was said. It's like, why wasn't his body found sooner? And this is the point that they make in the meeting, is it's not necessarily to say that there was anything nefarious going on, but more so if they had opened their frickin' eyes and done a thorough job policing the area, because they come onto the scene for an hour and then they dip out because they can't find him on a front lawn. And some were saying too, like, who knows if his life could have been saved because of that, right? So I found this on Reddit. Police officials did not explicitly say the body went undiscovered during the initial crash investigation, which occurred before sunrise, but indicated the department wished we located him earlier. According to the police radio traffic, the scene was cleared at 5:51, so literally 45 minutes later. All right, we're all going to be clear from down here, an officer says over his radio. We searched the areas pretty good without finding any operator, another officer tells dispatch. The car sideswiped a Canton resident in Stoughton, she said, and then fled at a high rate of speed. I wonder, did that person survive? Who is that person? Like, are they going to speak? If they are alive, like, have they spoken up? Stoughton police responded to that crash at Central and Island Streets at 5:12 a.m. Just 3 minutes later, the Pleasant Street crash in Canton was reported to police, exactly 2 miles from the scene of the Stoughton hit and run. Canton Police Chief Kenny Berkowitz did not respond to an Enterprise request to comment Wednesday. And what the actual F indeed.
You Google some, you'll find unattended dead bodies on I-95 in Canton, just thrown on the highway. It seems like this is the place to dispose of bodies. So there's more than just Sandra Birchmore out there.
Yeah, Craig Casey's name should be added. That was the time that the police missed the body on the lawn, and they had to be called back after the sun rose by a resident. It was a man's body on a front lawn, and our now police chief, then deputy police chief, was quoted in 4 newspaper articles saying while we wish we had found him earlier, it wouldn't have made any difference, but he was found alive, barely, and perhaps one would think that getting EMT assistance an hour and change earlier might have made a difference.
Yeah.
And many residents are concerned about Craig Casey's death as well in December of 2018. There were at least 2 other cases that were ruled as suicide that many residents now feel a lack of confidence in that, given what happened to Sandra and her baby in their Canton murder that was initially ruled a suicide.
Are you also going to fix the spelling of her name?
Yeah.
It says Sarah Birchmore, but her name was Sandra Birchmore.
Appropriate.
That's appropriate. You can't even take the time to spell her name right.
Change the name.
Bob, the name is incorrect on the document. Is that something that you think you would get changed?
We don't have enough information to say, are they under Canton? Is it in litigation? Is it a federal investigation? Is it under the district attorney?
Can I just ask you?
Throwing all these names in right now,
Bob, would you, even just the one name that's listed, presently says Sarah Birchmore?
Oh, it should be changed. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Okay, Can we,
Change it
can
to
we take a
Sandra.
vote to be sure that town resident, Canton town resident, Sandra Birchmore, her name was not Sarah Birchmore? It was Sandra. Bob, do you
Appropriate.
think that you could make a motion right now to have her name changed on that document?
yeah, that's a typo. That should be automatic.
Could you make a
All in favor?
change? Could you make the
Yeah.
motion,
Make a
Bob?
motion, please, to correct her
I
name.
make a motion to correct the name to her correct name,
Change it
Sandra
from
Birchmore.
Sarah to Sandra?
That's her name,
Sandra.
Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Sandra,
what I just
right.
said. That's confirmed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
This do-to-do, this dodo over here, what I think his name is Bob McCarthy or whatever, he is like pulling teeth with him. It's like, this is a woman who died, one of your townspeople, a young woman who died, who is horribly ABUSED'd for most of her life. Half her life was living like that. And she was brutally unalived by a Staunton police detective. And you don't have the. I'm sorry if we're annoying you with this, Bob. I'm sorry if you have better plans to get to, Bob. But yes, it's important. Say her name. Say her name and spell it right.
Thank you, Bob.
Who seconded the motion? We didn't have a second.
I did.
All of us.
Pick one.
Also, can I just take 1 minute? Because I feel like this is really the time, and I've been standing here for a really long time. And I think that look that I just saw on the chair of the police audit's face is the moment where I can't sit down any longer. Her name's incorrect in this document. She was a Canton resident. She was pregnant. She was murdered in this town. And watching a town vote in a democratic way, audit the police, whatever that may be, wherever I might have fallen on that vote, actually doesn't matter. Because what I'm seeing here is a committee that was formed as a result of that vote not behave in a way that I think the majority of people wanted it to behave. So I understand the different issues on there. And in fact, there may have been things that I've agreed with one side over the other. But the fact that a town voted for a committee to create an audit, and that has now looks like this, it's not what I voted for. I voted for a collaborative committee to work on this. And I'm not saying you need to agree on every detail, but when a woman who was murdered, his name is incorrect in a document that you're all looking at, to watch that smug look on your face, Bob, and laugh after that correction was made, it gets me to my core to a point that it's hard to even speak. So I just want to be sure that we understand that changing her name to be correct and adding the fact that she was pregnant is something that we can at least agree on.
Yep.
Just a reminder, this document was reviewed by Town Council, Mr. Scollins, and the chief of police. So move to amend the question to add the unborn baby. I'm not sure if we know if the baby has a name, or at least I don't know off the top of my head. Craig Casey and John O'Keefe.
Second.
Little discussion. When
Sure.
John O'Keefe, this is the whole impetus of this. This was, are there anyone else? I mean, it's pretty obvious that this was what.
Well, we don't list that in the document once, so they're asking if there's anyone else. We're providing, we don't want to be ambiguous. We didn't write anyone's name in the document. We were precluded from doing it. So we should include it. And the fact that you don't want to include it is troubling.
Well, John O'Keefe is fine, but the other one, I quite frankly have no comment on because unfortunately I'm not aware of it.
Nor am I.
And that's a problem just to add it. So I can see your point with John O'Keefe, and certainly with the unborn baby. I think that is appropriate. But short of that, the other cases, I just can't say I'm going to do it because I'm not aware.
Well, just because you're uninformed about it, we're informing you now that there is another
But I don't
case.
know your sources and what's going behind this. So
you
I'm
can
sorry,
look at-
David.
It's called Google, my guy. It's called Google. It's called the internet. It's called get your hands up out from your butt and pick up one of these, right? And do a little Google search. Guess how many articles I found about Craig Casey? A whole bunch. There was plenty of media coverage on that. And with the recent indictments on Matthew Farwell, Sandra Birchmore's name has been screamed throughout the media. In fact, I believe, well, this might have actually been earlier. No, actually, it was last night. It was last night that recording was leaked of the interview of, I believe, the former deputy chief, Del Papa, from the Staunton Police, interviewing, or Abington Police, excuse me, talking about Joshua Heel and how he would ask for favors from Sandra Birchmore, and in exchange he would give her what? Cats? For doing those? Like, give me a frickin' break. You have heard these names. And if you are unaware and you are uninformed, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of helping putting this together. Because I'm fairly certain that is not what your town voted for.
Beyond,
Pull out your phone.
when I knew about the Sarah Birchmore case,
Pull out your phone
Sandra.
and Google. Pull out your phone right now and Google
Didn't
Craig Casey,
say-
or perhaps
so the
Just have to pull
issue
up
was that she committed
the Canton
suicide.
Citizen article.
So we're gonna,
And it was,
I'm
you
more-
said
as I
Sarah again, it was Sandra.
Sandra,
I think the problem is we don't know. Our public is never informed what's
I don't know
happening in
anything
our
about
town.
the case beyond the name you just mentioned. So from the standpoint, John O'Keefe and certainly the baby, fine with that.
It's unfortunate that you don't want to add other victims of murders in this town.
I am
And
hoping that it opens.
I
it
don't
up
know
that
why
all of
you're
them,
having
but I don't know
opposition
because I
toward
don't know
it.
who these people are.
It doesn't matter. You don't know you don't know who.
David, are you saying, and I,
The un-
And not for nothing, guess what? Most of us don't know these people. But we've learned to know these people. Because no one deserves any of the brutal unalivings that they've endured, any of the ABUSE that they've endured. And it sounds so ridiculous to have to spell it out all the time because of freaking YouTube, and we should be able to talk about hard topics like this freely on this platform. And it really upsets me. And this was so disturbing to me. And it's just so upsetting. It's like, at the very least, you can get her name right. You can get her name right. And it's just a whole lot more back and forth of this. I encourage you guys to check out the full stream at the Young Jerks channel. It gets a lot more heated throughout. This was more towards like kind of the end, where they're talking about other cases that they believe should be audited and looked into, which again I feel is completely relevant. But what a bunch of buffoons! And if you want to feel like pulling your hair out, I highly recommend checking it out. But I do think it's important. And I think at the very least, it gives us an even deeper inside look as to who who's behind the scenes, who's calling the shots, and what is actually going on, and feeling the actual frustrations of these people. Because, like they said, they voted on this. The town voted on this because they thought this was a good thing. They thought that this was something that was going to help improve their police department and overall safety of their community. And right now, they feel like it's a dumping ground for bodies. How disgusting. How disgusting. And how disgusting, shame on you, Helena Rafferty, for approving Sarah Birchmore. Are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me as the chief of police? Shame on you. Shame on you. That really grind my gears, guys. Like, and again, when I watched that through today, and I was like listening through as I was working and researching for this video, because I had seen that first clip, which is more, I mean, like ridiculous and kind of comical in itself. But then you get to this, and it's just so sad. It's like a spit on Sandra Birchmore's memory. And it just goes to show that, oh no, they don't think your life mattered, but your life did matter. And it's just, it is so freaking sad. The ironic part of it all is they actually, Rita actually Lombardi, she ends up walking out, even though the committee chair keeps asking her, Bob McCarthy, you won't let anybody get one word in the whole freaking time, because he's the most important man in the room. Big man Bob McCarthy got to speak over everybody instead of letting people actually speak and act like adults. Kept egging her on, asking her to leave, even though she has every right to be there and to ask questions and address her concerns. She leaves, but not before they call the Canton police on her to escort her out. How inappropriate to call the Canton police, the same police department you are currently talking about, to this exact meeting. Are you effing kidding me? And actually, I gotta show that clip because, I mean, it's just the level of unawareness with these freaking dopes.
The Canton police would like, he's waving to me to come outside. So I would actually like him to come inside because I would feel more comfortable in here.
Yeah. He just motioned for you to come
Yes, he
outside?
just waved his
Okay.
finger through that window at me. So the Canton police are disrupting
Yep.
the audit that's overseeing them.
In your opinion.
In my
you
opinion,
guys-
they're actually doing it. They're
You guys are
biased.
safe. You guys are, the well-connected townies are safe. It's only the 75% of the town that pays most of the police pays for most of the police salaries that have to worry about.
What
What
is the
is-
definition of a townie?
That's irrelevant.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not a townie.
You guys qualify as well-connected. You're on.
I'd like it all on the record here in the room if you'd like to speak to me.
Kathleen, this is the
You could
first time
speak
I've
to me.
ever had any involvement in any kind of town government. The only other thing that I've been involved in is Little League Baseball. I'm not a townie.
Mhm.
Never have been.
We asked them to leave the building and they're gone, so.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that is your,
That was your
Correct.
intimidation from the police you were talking about? Okay.
I mean, but like, let's go back for a minute because that was like an excellent point by Kathleen. Like, oh, girl, snaps for days. Like, actually, you know, it was our boy. What's this dude's name with the mustache?
The audit that's overseen. So the Canton police are disrupting
Yep.
the audit that's overseeing them.
In your opinion.
in your
In
opinion.
my
you
opinion,
guys-
they're actually doing it. They're
You guys are
biased.
safe. You guys are the well-connected townies are safe.
Like,
It's only the
like they're literally interrupting the exact audit that they're conducting, that they're talking about. And then they have to make it a point. Like this idiot is like, oh, I escorted them out. Like, look, I did a good thing.
Room if you'd like to speak to me.
Kathleen, this is the first
You
time
guys
I've ever
got any
had any
donuts?
involvement in any kind of town government. The only other thing that I've been involved in is Little League Baseball. I'm not a town.
Mhm.
Never have been.
We asked them to leave the building and they're gone, so.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that,
Like, why do you need to announce that, dude? Like, you don't need to say that. You could just go. You could just freaking leave. Like, you know what's happening here. And like how and apparently what I've learned is that these three buffoons, or at least these two, I don't know what Bob McCarthy's deal is aside from being just a total shrew. I believe he's a contractor with like that works with the Massachusetts State Police, and this guy is like some kind of retired cop. I don't know within the Canton Police or if he's a retired cop within the Massachusetts State Police, but one of the two. So they both, that's what she means by they're both connected. And it's like, how did they get on this committee? I don't know if they were voted onto the committee or if this was like a volunteer thing that no one else wanted to do. But I mean, my God, like talk about being divided. It is constantly throughout this whole thing. It's like three against two, the whole freaking meeting. But like I said, check out Young Jerks. You can check out the full stream. I just wanted to highlight some of those key points because I think it's really important for the world to see and to expose and actually understand what's happening in Canton. So, yeah, last year they voted, the people of Canton voted to approve this independent audit of the Canton Police Department, 903 to 800, in a special election last year as a Karen Reed case divided the town. And it was supposed to be a gateway for transparency. And I don't know where there's only 5 members. It should, I don't know. I don't know how they came up with that, but 5 members. And it was just like a hot mess express the whole way through. They hope that they'll have bids by the end of September and have a firm and hope to have a firm get the audit started by November. So we'll see about that. But in, I guess, better and happier news, Karen Reed is going to have her appeal reviewed. So that's always good. I hate all these freaking ads, man. Makes it impossible to read these things. So the Massachusetts SJC has agreed to review the Karen Reed case according to the new court filing. Hereby reserve and report this case without decision for determination by the SJC for the Commonwealth Supreme Judicial Court. Justice Elizabeth Dewar wrote in Thursday's filing. The parties shall prepare and file in the full court a comprehensive statement of agreed facts to necessary to resolve the issues raised in the petition. So this is her, I guess her response, or filing, whatever you want to call it. So this matter came before the court on a petition for extraordinary relief pursuant to GLC 211, yada, yada. Upon consideration, therefore, I hereby reserve and report this case without decision for determination by the SJC for the Commonwealth. Parties shall prepare and file in the full court comprehensive statement of agreed facts necessary to resolve the issues raised by the petition. The statement shall be prepared in time for inclusion in the parties' record appendix. Footnote. At a scheduling conference held on September 12th, following this court's review of the petition as well as its record appendix, containing, among other things, the relevant papers filed by the Commonwealth before the Superior Court, the court expressed its intention to reserve and report this matter to the full court. The court also requested that the parties confer regarding a briefing schedule before the full court, and B, gave the Commonwealth until September 18th to file a response. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a response, but that doesn't mean that a response wasn't made, right? It's the 20th as of right now that I am recording this. The parties joint filed a proposed briefing schedule on September 17th. The record before the full court shall consist of the following: all papers filed in the docket sheet, the party's statement of agreed facts, and this court's reservation and report. This matter shall proceed in all aspects in conformance with Massachusetts rules of appellate procedure. The defendant petitioner shall be designated the appellant, and the Commonwealth shall be designated the appellee. The defendant's principal brief shall be filed no later than the 25th. So they got 5 days. The Commonwealth's brief shall be filed no later than the 16th, which already passed. The defendant's reply brief, if any, shall be filed no later than the 25th. Enlargements of time should not be anticipated. Oral argument shall take place in November 2024. So that's going to swiftly approach, my friends, in such other time as the full court may order. So this was entered on the 19th, so they had 6 days. So that's the deadline. And oral arguments sometime in November. Marty Weinberg made a statement saying, I'm looking forward to presenting the arguments to the highest court in the Commonwealth on issues great importance relating how the double jeopardy clause should protect Karen Reed from re-prosecuted for offenses that 5 jurors reported were the subject of acquittals at the prior trial. They filed the appeal last week of Judge Beverly Cajones's refusal to dismiss 2 of the 3 crim charges against her. And you can read all those arguments there. This is just pretty much a summary of everything else that we know. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, from my understanding, this is going to take a hot minute. So after oral arguments are made, whenever they are, I mean, we know we have Thanksgiving for my friends in the US, which I know is most of you guys, but for those of you who are not, Thanksgiving is typically the last Thursday of November, like the 26th, 27th. I just updated my laptop and everything's like confusing because it's not in the same place. Yeah, it's on the 28th, the last Thursday of every November. So it's got to be before then. There's also Election Day, like Veterans Day. I don't know when they're going to possibly be squeezing this in. I can only imagine probably sometime between after Election Day and after Veterans Day. It really doesn't leave a whole lot of time. And then what? They're going to be opening Christmas presents, ruminating over this decision from the oral arguments that were made in November. I don't see how this trial is happening in January now. I mean, it seemed like it was far out enough in the future, but with the way things are being paced, it very much seems like that January retrial date is going to be pushed out now that there's been a special prosecutor added to Team Commonwealth. He's going to need a minute to get his ducks in a row. So I can only imagine this is gonna, if there is a retrial, that's not probably going to happen until probably around like March or April would be my assumption. If I had to guess. So probably the same time frame from this year, and then we're going to have to deal with the air conditioner debacle and all that other garbage again with Judge Beverly Cajones. But that, I don't know. That's what I'm just foreseeing, because these things, I mean, even with the Donna Adelson case, I mean, who would have thought, man? I thought we would be covering this case all week, but alas, we are not. So if you enjoyed today's video, you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next Karen Reed update from me. And make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is important news. And I think it is, because it just gives the world a deeper inside look into Canton and all the corruption going on within the town. And it just makes you look within your own towns and saying, well, hey, if this is going on there, then it's probably going on to some extent. I mean, we hope not, in our own towns. And as I continue to dig into more of my own local news, I'm hoping to share some of the stuff that is going on in my own community, because I want to be able to share that and learn more too of how to be a proactive citizen. This whole movement has really inspired me to get more involved in my own local community, and I hope it has for you too. So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. We will be back and at it again on Monday with some Sandra Birchmore updates. And yeah, deep dive Sundays are going to be a thing. So we'll have our first deep dive Sunday on next Sunday, because I need a little bit time to research and prepare a video. It's going to be a lot more longer form, story based. So I'm very excited. The case that I have cooking up, it's going to be a good one. It's kind of connected to one of the other upcoming trials that we might be covering on this channel as well. So very exciting stuff coming down the pike. So if you want to be informed on when and where that is all going down, make sure you become a subscriber, and make sure you become a member too, because I will be putting together some members only content, probably starting next week. I've just been really busy. It's the busy season for marketing. So my life has been fully consumed by client work, but nevertheless, I have not forgotten you. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video.